guys, welcome back to the channel. The video today is going to be about engine building. Exciting stuff. Actually, it's kind of boring, I know. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Mike and I are getting so close to being done. You'll see in this video we get close to having the long block completely assembled. We are waiting on some buckets from Flatirons Tuning, excuse me. Mike ordered them this morning. So we should have the engine completely assembled by the end of this week. But I do want to document all of this, so please enjoy this video, and hopefully in the next 3 weeks we will have a lot more interesting videos coming up of the car actually being worked on, being swapped. I hate using that word because we're really not swapping anything besides a built engine, but we are still trying to get the car done in the next 3 weeks for an event on Memorial Day. So we'll keep you posted. So thanks again for watching and enjoy today's video.
Alright, so time to file the rings for the block. We're getting down to some of the last few things we have to do before we can put the short block together. So I've got the 4 sets of top and second rings laid out here. I'll go ahead and bolt the case halves together just to get as close to the distortion as possible. Obviously it's going to distort slightly once you bolt cylinder heads on, but I can't really put a ring in the bore with cylinder heads on it, and I don't have a torque plate, so I will do that, and then we will go through one cylinder at a time and file the top and the second rings, put those in their own little individual bags, and then we should be good to go.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Alright, what are you up to now?
Fitting the top ring on cylinder number 3.
So a top ring is the top ring that goes closest to the crank.
Oh, closest to the cylinder head. So you would have your top ring, your second ring, and then your oil control right here.
Okay.
And the oil control is three rings combined. And then you've got your second, which is always a little thinner with a bigger gap, and then you've got your top, which is always a little thicker with a tighter gap.
Okay. Excuse me.
Excuse me, sorry. Long day of coffee.
So what are you doing with the piston?
This is just an old piston that we have that I'm using to square the ring in the bore with, because obviously you want it sitting square in the bore.
When you measure it?
Yeah, that way you get the most accurate measurement. I mean, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but these are the rings right out of the box, and there's like a non-existent gap. So we'll have to file this one and kind of measure it as we go, because we obviously we can't add material to it, so you don't want to go past.
Alright, well let's file it. So after you file it, then you try it back in.
Yeah, it's kind of a tedious process because I don't have a ton of experience, so I don't exactly know. It's hard to feel how much material you're removing with the file.
Didn't you used to build engines quite some time ago?
Well, yeah, but I had an electric one then. So you just sat back and you let it do all the work.
Would it measure how much it was taking off?
No. But you got a feel for it.
So now there's a little gap.
Yes.
So those are called feeler gauges?
Sure.
What else would they be called?
Feeler gauges, yeah.
Alright, so this one is what I'm targeting. This is the one that I don't want to go in because it means I went too big. This means I really fucked up, and this means buy new rings. And so if you see, this one goes in. If you go to the one next size up, it stops.
Cool, so you're right where you need to be.
Yep.
Awesome. So now you have one more of these rings to do for the cylinder.
Yeah, I've got the second ring that I've got to do for cylinder number 4. You always want to go bigger on your number 2 on your second ring versus your top. So the multiplication factor increases as you go along. So.
All right, so now we're doing the second ring.
Yep, and the second ring is a lot softer material than the top ring, so it goes a lot quicker.
And you had measured it already and trimmed it, right?
Yeah, so that's trimmed.
I wonder what that is.
And yeah, tight.
There's the number Mike was talking about.
Yeah, I think it says N50.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go in.
The bigger one doesn't go in.
Yeah.
Cool. So it looks like we're done with ETH. So are we going to be putting the rings in the pistons like soon?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll capture that on video. And then I believe Mike and I are going to try and build the short block tonight. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. So next, Mike and I are going to be putting the piston rings that we measured earlier in the previous video on the pistons. So Mike is using a special tool for piston rings in order to stretch the piston rings without bending them. What are those called? Piston ring pliers?
Yeah.
These are pretty cool. I would highly suggest them if you are putting together an engine. As you can see, they have these 2 little cones or triangles that the piston ring sits in, so that way when you push them apart, it pushes the piston ring ends away from each other so you can fit it around the piston. So Mike's gonna let me do one. So this is the top or the...
That's the second ring, and then make sure your numbers are facing up.
Towards the top.
Yeah.
Just like this.
Yep.
So do you want to start these together? Like that?
Yep.
And you said this is the top or the
Second ring.
So it'll go right here.
Yep.
You just made it look so easy.
Oh, just a little bit in the back. Okay.
Well, that was easy because you could kind of pull it where it needed to go. And you said numbers up.
Numbers up.
What if this one doesn't have numbers?
It better.
Oh, there they are. They're awfully small. that one is done. So that's cylinder number two. All right, Mike, so what are we up to now?
We are assembling the rods onto the crankshaft.
So we're using some assembly lube. If anyone needs any assembly lube, any of my friends, we have so much. So just let me know. There's no way in heck we could ever go through all of that. So Mike is putting assembly lube, on the bearings. And then bolting that on the crankshaft. Am I missing anything here, Mike?
Nope.
Mike's very organized. He has all of his parts behind him. Olivia is freaking out because there's a dog outside that she hasn't met before. So we'll keep you posted on the next steps. Alright, Mike, so you're all done with putting the rods on the crank, correct?
Yeah, I just have to torque them now.
Alright, and then what will be next after that?
We'll put the main bearings in the case halves, put assembly lube on those, get the 4 O-rings in the block, get the silicone on the porting line of the block, and stick them together.
Wow. Alright, well, we're going to torque them down. Alright, so now we're going to torque these down like Mike said. I believe he said they're 60 foot-pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hold everything while Mike torques it.
Torques it?
Torques it. Tweak it, tweak it. Alright, so now we're going to torque these down like Mike said. I believe he said they're 60 foot-pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to hold everything while Mike torques it.
Torques it?
Torques it. Tweak it, tweak it. So now that the crank is done, Mike is going to start working on the block. Like he said, he's going to be putting the bearings in, as well as getting all of the gaskets in right here.
O-rings, but yeah.
O-rings. And then you said we're going to be using Honda Bond to put this together, or what are we going to be using?
Pretty sure I'll use some Honda Bond.
Awesome.
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 I like the excitement.
I'm so excited, guys. We have, what, 3 weeks till our event?
4.
4 weeks, so just got to figure out who's going to tune this bad boy. If you know of any great tuners, let me know. We're trying to figure out if we want to stay local or not. Mike, you got all of these gaskets from Subaru?
Yep.
That's cool. Awesome. Awesome's my word today, guys.
It's cheaper to just order the gaskets versus buying the gasket kit from Subaru.
You think?
It is. They figure people are too lazy to go through and order every single part number that they need, so they make it a little more expensive for that convenience.
Well, maybe we'll put together a list of all of the part numbers that we used to help people out.
There you go.
Would you do that, Mike?
Yeah.
Awesome. Just kidding, guys. Now I'm being sarcastic. All right. Stay tuned. So we put the main bearings in. Mike's just double checking my work. I always have him double check my work. That way it can never be my fault. Because he checked it. He touched it last. That's the key to a good marriage. Just kidding. Stay tuned for more marital advice from the Smiths. I mean, we have been together for 13 years. Not a lot of people know that.
So now Allie is going through and she's putting the assembly lube on all of the main bearings. She already got this side done. I went ahead and put the 4 O-rings in the block. So once she's done with that, I'll go ahead and put a thin layer of silicone on the case halves and we can bolt them together. While she works on that, I'll be over there putting, let me just go over there. So while Allie works on that, I'll be adding all of the different washers to the case bolts. So 6 of these bigger ones are located in the cooling jacket. So they get the O-ringed washers. These 2 short ones go in the front. 2 more of the long ones go in the back. They just get the standard washers. These 6 go along the top and 1 at the bottom by the backside, like where the flywheel is. The long one goes right below the oil pump. And then the short black one goes in where the oil pan sits. So I'll work on that while she finishes up the assembly loop.
Now Mike's gonna take Honda Bond and go through and put it on all the mating surfaces where the case halves will go together. Do you know the working time on Honda Bond? It's pretty long, isn't it?
I'm not sure. It's not very long because this stuff is already pretty tacky.
Do you need help?
Sure.
Alright, well, Mike and I, gross. Sorry, I have assembly lube on my hand. Mike and I got the case halves together. That was kind of fun. So now we're gonna bolt them together. Then we'll pull off the little rod condoms. Is that what they're called? Technical term?
Sure.
So now we're putting the bolts in that Mike was talking about earlier. He has put oil on all of them. Mike, why do you put oil on them? Just so they don't bind?
Yep.
They don't give you that false sense of torque?
Yep.
Awesome.
And I'm pretty sure it's in the instructions.
Mike follows the instructions. So now Mike is going to be torquing down the case bolts, following that torque sequence that we've referred to in the past. Mike did get a new little torque wrench. He's kind of excited about it. It is so cute. Isn't it cute, Mike? It's like a little baby torque wrench.
Children's size torque wrench.
I felt like I was going to break it when I picked it up. So the first set goes to, what was it, 9 foot-pounds?
7.4.
7.4. Look at this little baby torque wrench. It's so cute. So 7.4 is the first one. Then what's the next one, Mike?
Then the next one we do the big ones to 14.8, 10.8, 14.8, 13.3.
And where did you find all of this stuff?
Factory service manual.
Cool. Just on the internet?
On the internet.
And then you printed it out?
Yeah, buddy.
Alright guys, so Mike and I got the short block together. So one thing Mike and I like to do when we build a short block is we like to make sure we monitor when we torque things. So for this block we are using a teal paint pen. See here? So we go through and we mark all of the bolts that we have torqued as we torque them. That way there's no question. Kind of like the factory does when they torque things down. So if you're ever looking at one of our cars and you notice teal, that is why. Alright guys, so we have half of the short block assembled. We have, what cylinder is this one here?
2.
2 and 4?
Yep.
And Mike put all of the clips in and everything. You can kind of see it there. It's kind of hard to see. But anyway, big things are happening.
Alright, what's going on everyone? Back out in the garage now. Need to get going on just cleaning the last few things on the engine, and I can go ahead and slap the cylinder heads on. So I don't know how to flip this around. I got the hockey game going. I got the short block here. Then I've got all of my cylinder head stuffs and oil pump and head gaskets and head studs and all that laid out ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the cylinder heads, and then man, that's horrible lighting. And then yeah, go ahead, probably chase the holes on the block one last time before we put the head studs in and get this thing into a long block. And I'm looking over here, camera's over there, so you don't want to see my eyeballs anyway, or my beard, or my hat. It's all dirty with duct tape on it. So yeah, there's the STI chilling, E30 chilling, M3 chilling. So yeah, happy Saturday.
What are you up to, Mike?
I'm using my ARP thread cleaner for these head stud threads.
Nice. So what does that do? It just makes sure that the threads are clean and ready to go for the upcoming install of the head studs.
Yeah, it looks a lot like a tap would, except it's not actually cutting anything. It just cleans them.
I didn't know that they made those.
Yeah, ARP, I think in all of their head stud kits give you the part number for the corresponding thread cleaning tool. You know, it's another opportunity for them to sell you something, so.
And we just had this in our garage from one of our previous builds, I believe.
Yeah, it was unopened.
Yeah, because it was sitting in the top of your toolbox forever.
For like 10 years.
So, is that what it is? What is it?
Yep. So it says ARP, and then it says clean out.
Hold on.
I don't think you'll see it.
I'm trying to get the camera to focus.
But yeah, it's just an ARP thread clean out tool.
Huh.
So.
That's cool.
Just a little bit of extra insurance.
So it just chases the threads. Because if the threads are dirty, then it will give you improper torque value, correct?
Or it can rip the threads out the block in theory.
Well, we can't have that.
No.
And we're back in the garage. As I said before, we didn't really include building the rest of the short block because it's kind of boring. So I'm not sure how much of this I'll record. This next video will probably be pretty short. Most people aren't interested in engine building, to be completely honest. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, a lot of people don't seem terribly interested.
So over here we have all of the heads staged, ready to go. Mike just finished cleaning them. And we have these cams. These are the GSC2 cams, I believe.
S2, yeah.
GSC2.
GSC S2.
GSC S2. And then what head gaskets are we going with, Mike?
These are the Pro Seals.
They're pretty thick. I was pretty impressed when I picked them up the other day.
Yeah, they're a little bit thicker than stock because I know the heads have now been machined twice and the block has been machined once, so I'm hopeful this will get it in line with where we need it.
And they come with pretty beefy packaging. I don't understand quite why, but this is what they come with. Maybe that's just how beefy the head gasket is. This probably weighs at least a pound. So anyway, we're gonna start installing parts. So Mike and I are installing the head bolts.
Bolts?
Head studs. Excuse me. ARP. And Mike is putting the washers in now. So we just have to check our bucket clearances. If everything looks good, then we'll go ahead and torque everything down and...
Well, we'll torque everything down before we check buckets.
No, I know, but like finalize this whole thing and put the valve cover on.
Gotcha.
Is where I was going.
Once we do this, the head ain't coming off.
No, I know.
That's okay.
But, I guess these are what torques it down.
Yeah, I was specifying for our viewers at home.
Okay, yes. Because not everyone knows exactly what they're doing. Please don't follow my instructions by any means. Mike is my professional. I am not a professional. So, anyway, we're going to finish doing this and we'll time lapse the rest until we are done. But we will explain what we're doing when we're checking the buckets. Right, Mike?
Sure.
My little engine builder.
Little.
My little big engine builder. So these are the heads. Mike, can you tell me about the heads that we built?
They're heads.
They're heads.
They have valves.
What kind of valves?
Brian
Crower. Okay. What else?
Springs.
What kind of springs?
Pack for Brian Crower.
Pack from Brian Crower?
For Brian Crower.
They're
Brian Crower springs, but they're made by Pack. Which is like a muscle car. Muscle car brand.
You can kind of see the BC if you look closely, but if my camera will focus.
Well, that'll be the retainers that you see.
But anyway.
Titanium retainer.
Why did we build these heads?
Because I want to make the jam.
Okay, well, anyway. Mike's not being very helpful with the explanation about what's done to these, so.
What do you... I'll be helpful. What do you want me to say?
I just want you to explain what we did to them.
B25 heads.
Okay.
Oversized valves.
Okay.
Upgraded valve springs.
Okay.
Upgraded retainers.
Okay.
Cleaned them.
Okay.
GSC S2 cams.
Okay.
That's about it.
You had to clearance them for the cams, right?
Yes.
You did that, and I think they look great.
Thanks.
I guess you used to work in a machine shop. Anyway. Some time ago. What, like 10 years ago?
Like 12.
12. Well, wish us luck with checking our bucket clearances, because if our buckets check out, then we can finish everything tonight. Wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice. So we went through and we are lubricating everything with the ARP lube that they provide. So why do you lubricate the threads?
Watch our last video.
Watch our last video. It's true. Watch it.
Watch it.
Anyway, so we already did the bolts, or the, what are those called?
Studs.
Studs.
Like, man.
You're a nerd. So you lubricate those, and then you lubricate the washer faces. So there's some goods in here. We got a little BC action, a little ARP.
Little ARP.
ARP. These are all things I dreamed of as a kid.
As a kid?
As a kid, I
mean, as a teenager?
As a teenager. So you're just going to screw those in, and then we'll torque them down in sequence?
Yeah. 30, 60, no, these are different. They go way higher than 90. I'll have to look.
Good thing you have your service manual over there. So now Mike and I are going to use the instructions from ARP, and we're going to torque everything down to 35 foot-pounds. So we're going to follow the pattern. Correct?
Correct. Alright, well that's going to end up being the end of the video for this week. 5 of the buckets ended up being either too small, too big, so the lash wasn't quite right. Found the 5 that we needed. They'll be here tomorrow, so we can wrap that up. get the oil pump on, get the time belt on, and hopefully pick up some momentum on the build. Thank you so much for following along, and we'll see you on the next one.